welcome to the BYU Library Family History webinar. We're glad you could join us today. My name is Olivia Tuller and I'll be your host for this webinar. If you have technical difficulties during the webinar, please use the chat box and I can address your concerns. You're welcome to use the chat box during the webinar for comments, insights, and questions. However, all questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation. Our next webinar is on August 15th with Marilyn Thompson on military research, what and when. If you would like to access a previous webinar of ours, please visit our webinar index on our website or search on our YouTube channel. All of our webinars are recorded and uploaded by the following Monday for your convenience. We also post links to recordings and other updates on our Facebook and Twitter accounts. For today's webinar, we are pleased to hear from Kathryn Grant on FamilySearch Labs, test drive new features and help shape the future. Before we begin, I'll share a little bit about Kathryn. After years on the sidelines, Kathryn began doing family history. Somewhat to her surprise, she discovered that she loved it. Her specialty is helping new family historians find success and maybe even avoid some of the mistakes she's made. Kathryn teaches Sunday classes at the BYU Library Family History Center and presents at other family history events. Her column on family history ran in the Nauvoo Times for about a year and is still available online. In addition, she's a regular contributor to the FamilySearch blog. Kathryn works as a technical writer and instructional designer with a focus on usability and process improvement. Her current work assignment includes developing training used on mobile devices. Besides family history, she loves uplifting music, thought-provoking books, and fresh raspberries. And we'll now turn the time over to Kathryn if she's ready.
Great. Olivia, thank you so much. Well, everybody, welcome to our webinar today. We're so happy to have you join us. This webinar, as Olivia said, is on FamilySearch Labs, a wonderful, relatively new feature on the FamilySearch.org website. So on today's agenda, we've got 3 topics. We'll give an introduction to FamilySearch Labs. Then we will talk about the current experiments that are offered there. And finally, we'll wrap up with ways that you can provide feedback. So let's dive into the first topic, Intro to FamilySearch Labs. So here is a screenshot of the current view of FamilySearch Labs. Basically, FamilySearch Labs is a website where you can test new features and apps before they're available to all users. Every item on this website, every little tile that you see is called an experiment. And you can turn experiments on or off as you want to. So if you want to visit labs, go to familysearch.org/labs. Couldn't be easier, right? If you want to turn an experiment on or off, there's always going to be a try it button on the tile for that experiment. So you just click try it, and when you do that, you are generally taken to a page that has details about the particular experiment that you chose. Some of these pages, but not all, will have an additional try it button, and if you don't click that additional one, you actually won't get access to the experiment. After you enable an experiment, then the Try It button back on the home page tile changes to Turn Off. So at any time, it's super simple to disable an experiment. And then also, another thing that wasn't on the tile before is a link that will let you go to the experiment. When you're dealing with works in progress, well, when you're in life, actually, it's good to have realistic expectations, right? So on this site and with any experiment that you enable, expect occasional bugs and performance issues because, again, these are features that are being worked on actively and haven't been yet released to the general public. Expect changes. What I've noticed that is wonderful is as users give feedback to FamilySearch, they implement changes soon. And so you may sign on one day and see a certain interface, and then you sign on 2 days later and it's changed and improved. But so do expect the changes. Don't let that rattle you. And realize that these experiments are works in progress. Okay, with that introduction, let's look at the current experiments on FamilySearch Labs. So there are 6 of them as of the date of this webinar. I'm sure that will change in the not too distant future, but for now we've got Merge Analysis View, Full Text Search, Family Group Trees, AI-powered help, a Together app, and the profile quality score. The purpose of this webinar is not to go deep into these experiments, but I do want to give a quick overview of each of them. So first is Merge Analysis View. This is a tool for evaluating the correctness of a merge. If you've been wishing for this, check this out. When you click Try It, I should say after you click try it, if you go to somebody's changelog and there's a merge in the changelog, you'll see a new button for merge analysis. When you click that button, a new screen opens up with 3 columns. The first column shows what the deleted person looked like right before the merge. So their birth information, death information, family members, etc. The second column shows what the survivor looked like just before the merge. And then the last column shows what the survivor looked like right after the merge. So why is this helpful? Well, suppose that you suspected a bad merge. You could come into this merge analysis page and say, oh wow, this gal was born, I'm speaking hypothetically here, not by the screenshot, but something like, wow, this gal was born in 1750, but this gal was actually born in 1760, and she's got a different spouse and different children. These do not look like the same person. So it just enables you to kind of assess the correctness of a merge. The next thing I am super excited. I'm actually excited about all of these, but this I'm also super excited about, full text search. So when you enable this experiment, you will be taken to a screen that allows you to just enter in keywords to do a search of select historical records. The difference between this search and the normal search on FamilySearch.org is that the documents in this collection have been scanned by AI and transcribed in their entirety, which enables us to do a text of all the search. So excuse me, enables us to do a search of all the text. I said that backwards. In the normal, if any of you have done indexing, you know that normally when you index a historical record, there are only select pieces of it that get indexed. For instance, on a christening record, you don't index every single piece of text on the record. You index the name of the person getting christened, the date of their christening, the dad's name, the mom's name, that type of thing. Normally, you wouldn't index witnesses or residences or occupations. But with a full text search, everything is indexed. So if that word appears in the document, full text search will find it, with the caveat that AI transcription is not 100% reliable, but it's pretty dang good, to be honest. So here are the records that are currently in this collection. If you saw the announcement at Roots Tech earlier this year, you probably remember that they started out with just these first 2 record collections. Now they've added 3 more, and they will keep adding more and more. I was a little hesitant when I saw these limited collections. I thought, oh, it's not worth it for me to try because there's only 5 collections. What are the chances of my ancestor being in there? But I decided to search anyway. So I searched for one of my dear family names, Bescaby. And again, I just thought nothing's going to come up. My family didn't live in Australia. Well, some of the Bescabys lived in Australia, but not very many. And as far as I know, they were never in Mexico, etc., etc. Well, look what happened. I was blown away. All these land records came up, or estate files for members of my Bescaby family, which I recognize. So I had done research on these people, like I recognized Edward, and where's Helen? I've done research on Helen. And so to see these names come up totally unexpectedly in full text search was amazing. So if you think your family is not in these records, maybe they aren't, but you know what? It might be worth trying. So when you get these search results, you can click on the title of a result. And when you do that, you get taken to this amazing screen that shows you the digitized record so that you can actually read the original, but also the transcription shows off to the right-hand side. Now, one of my first questions was, if I see a mistake that AI made in this, can I correct it? And I poked around and didn't see a way to do it. Like on one of the transcriptions, the name Charles was mistranscribed as Chirles. It was Chirles. And that's going to happen from time to time with AI, right? There's going to be little mistakes here and there. So I thought, well, sometimes websites will allow you to correct it. And I poked around, didn't find a way. So I emailed somebody at FamilySearch who would know. And I said, hey, can we correct these records at this point? The full, or correct the transcription on full text search? And they said, well, not right now, but that may be possible in the future. So no guarantees, but knowing FamilySearch and how they just keep getting better and better, I will just give it as my opinion that I would not be at all surprised if that became a feature later on, which would just even increase the value of these transcriptions. The next item is family group trees. This is something that people have been wanting and asking for forever. So family group trees allows you to create a private shared tree for your living family. Before family group trees were released, we had the shared public tree, right? The main tree where we all work. And then if you added living people, they would show up for you, but your other family members couldn't see them. Well, family group trees gives you a new collaborative space where you control the people, the family members who can join, who can see the information, and you can connect to deceased people, but it's just the other family members that you invite. You guys can all see everything in the family group tree, whereas before other people could not see living people that you had added. I hope that makes sense. So this is really a great way for families to collaborate and still preserve privacy. To be honest, this is such a robust and rich feature that I don't think we'd better take time to talk much more about it today, but it was worth a whole webinar. So if you're interested in learning more about family group trees, then just go to our webinar index and find the webinar called All About Family Groups, or you can click on this link. We'll give you a link to the slide deck later on in the chat, and then with the link to the slide deck, you can come to this slide and you can click on this link to get to the YouTube version. And you can also go to our YouTube channel and search for it. Okay, the next one is AI assisted help, and this one blew me away as well, to be honest. So I enabled this experiment, and this is the form that came up. So I see how can I help you today? They want to know what kind of help I need, and it says even where they get their information from the Help Center, the Wiki, Roots Tech, and other areas. So you just type in a natural question. You don't have to phrase it in any certain way. You just say what you're interested in knowing. If you don't have a particular question, you can actually check it out by clicking one of these pre-configured questions to see how it works. So I decided I would like to test this by entering a question that I already knew the answer to because I wanted to know how trustworthy it was. And so I asked AI assisted help, tell me about English civil registration. And I have a pretty decent background in that, so I thought I'll be able to tell if it's giving me good information. Well, oh my goodness. As I read through the answers that it came back with, I was very impressed. It was right, it was spot on. It was completely accurate as far as I could tell. And not only did it give me accurate information, it gave me sources for the information. So we've got footnotes all throughout the answer to the question, and then the references are listed down below. And of course, these are clickable links, so you can go and get more information from the sources that they use to compile the answer. So I just think this has fantastic potential for helping all levels of Family Search users. Whether you're a beginner and you're asking a very basic question, or you're a more intermediate or advanced user and you want to know about some more difficult topic, it looks like this is going to be a great way to get information and get answers to our questions. The next thing is the Together app. This one is a little bit different than the others in that this is well, it's actually, you can look at it on the web or you can download a mobile app from your favorite mobile app store. What it does, it actually works with family group trees. And when you bring up this Together app, when you join the experiment, you get a page that looks like this. And it's just got a bunch of prompts and activities that you can complete. And then you can share them with your family and you can invite them to complete the activities and prompts and stories and so forth also, and share them with other family members. So it's just a really fun way to collaborate with each other. And you know how sometimes you get together as a family and you really do want to talk and connect, but nobody can think of what to say or what questions to ask or whatever? Well, here you've got a whole bunch of ideas. Favorite foods, favorite animals, favorite sports. What are my talents? What are my hobbies? What are some life highlights? And you can complete those yourself or ask them of other people. So it's just a really great way to connect with your family and learn more about each other and appreciate each other. So again, just if you want to enable this experiment, you can either enable it here or go to your favorite app store and just search for the Together app by Family Search. The last one is one that I'm also super excited about. This might be the most exciting one for me. So when you turn on this experiment, a quality score appears at the top of certain profiles, and we'll talk in a minute about which ones. But the quality score, it has three ratings. You can have a quality score of low, medium, or high. This has been needed for so long in a shared tree because with all levels of users contributing to the tree, we're going to get variations in quality, right? We're going to have some people that are experts, but many more who are just learning and doing their best. And so to have some way to evaluate the quality of a profile is a huge plus in a shared tree. And what I love is that Family Search does not just leave you to wonder why a profile got a specific quality rating. You can click on the quality rating button, and when you do, a panel opens up on the right-hand side and it explains what factors went into that rating. So notice here all ratings are done with 4 categories. Is the data complete? Does it have tagged sources? Is it consistent? Is the information on the page consistent with sources? And is the data conflict free? We can see right here that we got 3 stars out of 5 on is the data complete. So that's moderately good. We got 4 stars on the next two, but we got 0 stars on conflict free. Well, that's not a very good rating, so that sounds like a thing that I would want to improve. So you notice down here there are actions to improve the quality score, and each of these 4 categories match the 4 categories up here. So what I can do is I can click on any one of those categories to expand it, and I get specific guidance for resolving those conflicts. So the first one is really simple. The problem is that the standardized place did actually not exist on the date of the christening. So that I just go back and I would pick another standardized place that did exist on the date of the christening. But look what we got down here. This person has 2 dads and 2 moms. Obviously, that is a problem. And they're both biological. Wouldn't be a problem if one was biological and one was adoptive, but here we've got 2 parents that appear to be biological. So either they need to be merged if they're the same, or one of them needs to be disconnected. And each of these other options provides similar guidance that will allow you to improve the quality of the record. I mentioned that talk about which profiles get this rating or which profiles are included in the experiment is probably a better way to say it. So of course, Family Search had to start someplace, right? It wasn't practical to enable this on all profiles from all time periods and all areas. And so they limited the set of profiles that's included in this pilot test. So the user language does have to be set to English. I'm sure that will change in the future. Right now, the person on the profile has to be born between 1800 and 1920, and their birthplace has to be in Canada, continental Europe, South America, the UK, or the US. And if the profile does not meet all those qualifications, you just see a note that the quality score is not available at this time. So now we're ready to move to the last topic of the webinar, which is providing feedback. Family Search wants our feedback. That's one thing that they have made clear over and over again, that they are very, very interested in hearing from their users. They want to know what's working, what's not, how they can improve things. So there are several different ways of giving feedback. When you see this feedback on the left-hand side of the page, either on the home page or on any of the other lab experiment pages, every time I've tried it, it brings up a pop-up window that lets you give feedback just on that specific page. And it's got two options. It will let you give feedback on the whole page, or it will let you click a page element and give feedback just on that element. So suppose I wanted to give feedback on the whole page. I just click the whole page, or I think it says general. But suppose I was having trouble with this button right here and I wanted to give feedback just on it. So I'd click feedback, I'd click specific, and then I would click the button, and the feedback mechanism is smart enough to know that what I clicked is the thing that I want to give feedback on. So that's a cool feature for giving feedback. Also, as you use the experiments, you'll notice that there will be feedback buttons in various places for the experiments. So for instance, on the quality score experiment, there's a feedback button at the bottom of the panel. Merge analysis, they've got a button up near the top. On AI guided help, you've got this box over here and a green feedback button. In addition, you can give feedback on the Family Search community. So just go to community.familysearch.org, and this is a link right here. Also, you can give general feedback there, but also some groups have dedicated, or excuse me, some experiments have dedicated groups that you can join that are specifically about that experiment. Here's an example from Family Group Trees. So when you look at their page of information and instructions, you see this little blurb about joining the community, and you get a link that will take you straight to the community and allow you to join. When Olivia introduced me, she mentioned that I'm a technical writer, and that gives me an opportunity to work closely with developers and UX designers and so forth. So they've taught me a few things over the years about how to give useful feedback. And so I wanted to pass that on. Generally, when we give feedback, it's one of two things. Either we have an idea for an enhancement or an improvement. It's not that something's wrong, we just think that something could be improved. Or sometimes something is wrong. Like we click on something that we expect to work one way and it doesn't work, or it works a different way, and it's some kind of bug in the system. The feedback for each of those categories or items is a little bit different. There's a lot of overlap, but a little bit different. So if you have an idea that you'd like to share, be sure to describe the idea clearly. When we have an idea in our mind, we have the context in our brain and we know what we mean and what we think, but someone else without that context may not. So try to put yourself in the shoes of the other person and see if they would understand the way that you're explaining the improvement that you're suggesting. It's also a good thing to explain the pros and cons. Not only is that helpful for the people considering your suggestion, but it's helpful for you too as the person making it so that it's more balanced. And sometimes when I think through things like this and I look at the cons, I go, I probably need to give this some more thought before I make this suggestion. So it can be a valuable exercise to make sure that your suggestion is in good shape before you make it. And it can help to include some kind of an image or graphic that shows what you're talking about. If you find something that doesn't seem to be working correctly, it's a good practice to describe what you expected to happen and what actually happened. That provides the contrast. Also, it's really helpful to developers and designers if we tell them the steps to reproduce the problem. So we don't just say, that button doesn't work. See, that's not very helpful to them. Instead, you can say, I clicked such and such to go to such and such a page. On this page, I clicked the such and such button. When I clicked it, I expected it to take me to this other page or open up merge analysis or whatever, but this is what actually happened when I clicked it. So that is really useful to them in troubleshooting and solving the problems. One thing I've noticed is that when something doesn't work right in software, sometimes that can be extremely frustrating. We can even take it a little personally, as if the person who designed the page was actually trying to make our life difficult, which of course they were not. So when we give feedback, it's always a good idea to be objective and keep emotions out of it. Like we don't need to say that it frustrated us, or we don't need to say that we think it was a stupid idea or anything like that. Think how you would feel if you got that kind of feedback. So just stick to the facts, don't get emotional about it, don't take it personally, and that will give your feedback the best chance of being considered and implemented. And then once again, it's always helpful to include screenshots of any error messages or anything that you think would help people solve that bug or that issue. Lastly, when giving feedback, assume good intentions. So that kind of ties in with what we were just talking about. But I can't count the numbers of times that I've been on a website like on the communities or a Facebook group or something where people get so angry about something that doesn't work and they just take it personally as if the person who designed the software or allowed the bug to get through really had it out for them and was trying to make their life miserable. And that is so not true. I mean, if we think about that, we can just realize that it's not true. And especially our amazingly talented Family Search employees, from all of them that I've talked to, they want to do a good job. They're trying to help us. They're trying to make our life easier. So assume good intentions when you're crafting your feedback. Be sure to acknowledge what is good. Don't just send complaints and say this is lousy, it didn't work, what are you guys thinking? But instead, you can always find something to be grateful for or something to be positive about. And finally, remember that a human being is going to be the one who reads your words. So put yourself in their place and ask, would I like to get feedback such as I'm considering sending? And if the answer is no, redo it until it's both accurate and kind. And I believe it's possible to be both. So that actually leads to the last little point here, the importance of being kind. It is definitely possible to give feedback on something that isn't working in a way that is respectful and polite and courteous and kind. So that brings us to the end of our webinar today. By way of summary, we talked about how the FamilySearch Labs website lets you try upcoming features, which are called experiments. You can turn experiments on or off, and there are currently 6 experiments with more expected to come. And we also talked about how FamilySearch wants your feedback, so when you give feedback, be clear and be kind. So everybody, thank you so much for coming today. And Olivia, do we have any questions to address?
I think we had one in the chat. Jolene and Dennis say, is the profile quality score include those from Scandinavia?
Oh, unfortunately not yet. Well, actually, I better double check on. They said continental Europe, and I was thinking that Scandinavia is not considered part of continental Europe, but I could be wrong. Does anybody know the answer to that question? Um, Joellen and Dennis, maybe you guys know. It sounds like you're familiar with Scandinavian research. And one way to test it out would be to enable the experiment and then go to one of your ancestors from Scandinavia and see if it shows up. That is a really great question, and I'm not sure of the answer.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We hope you will join us for our next webinar, which is on August 15th with Marilyn Thompson. She will be giving a presentation on military research, what and when. A recording of this webinar will be made available next week. You can view that on our YouTube channel or on our website. If you have any comments or questions, you can always email us at fh_webinars@byu.edu or follow our Facebook and Twitter. Thank you and have a wonderful week.